everybody, welcome back to Arbitrary 20. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Player's Handbook Playtest 8 Unearthed Arcana. For this particular video, we're going to be taking a look specifically at the spells.
Yeah, so first up, all of the Conjure spells have been changed. The most significant ones probably being Conjure Animals and Conjure Woodland Beings. Those are definitely some of the most powerful spells in 5e. So we'll see how they turn out. First up, Conjure Animals. We'll just go through alphabetically. You summon nature spirits to take the form of a large swarm of spectral animals in an unoccupied space you can see within range. This form lasts for the duration. And you choose the animal form of the spirits, such as wolves, serpents, or birds. When a creature hostile towards you enters the space within 10 feet of the swarm for the first time on a turn, or starts its turn there, you can make a melee spell attack against that creature. On a hit, they take 2d10 plus your spellcasting ability modifier and radiant damage. And then you have advantage on strength saving throws while you're within 10 feet of the swarm. And when you move on your turn, you can also move the swarm up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. And then when you upcast it, the damage increases by a d10. Yeah, so this seems pretty terrible, to be honest. Obviously, it's just a completely different spell. All the Conjure spells look like just completely different spells from what they were before, which is fine since they're being replaced by the summon spells, but this is just like not even worth casting 2d10 damage on a 3rd level spell.
Yeah.
I think pretty much all of them are concentration up to 10 minutes, which is nice, so you can set some of them up before combat and just bring it into the combat with you. Yeah, I don't think this one specifically is worth casting.
Yeah, I mean, I know the old Conjure Animals there's no other word around it. It was definitely broken. It was definitely unethical.
Yeah.
But this is like a huge slap in the face. I am particularly not happy about a lot of the Conjure, and I guess these are all Conjures. I'm not a huge fan of like the changes to them, but
they definitely needed change.
Yeah, as much as I don't want to admit it, they did need to be changed, but this ain't it.
I think some of them turned out a little bit better, but yeah, this one is awful.
Yeah, this needs a lot of improvement here.
Yeah,
to even bring it back. I mean, there's no way it's going to go back to the way it was before.
Yeah.
It needs to be a lot better to even like get on the playing field, because like you said, this is not even worth casting.
And then moving on to Conjure Celestial, you summon the protective presence of a celestial spirit which manifests as a pillar of divine light that shines in a 10-foot radius and a 40-foot high cylinder on a point within range. Until the spell ends, bright light fills the cylinder, and when you move on your turn, you can also move the cylinder up to 30 feet. When a creature enters the cylinder for the first time on a turn or starts his turn there, you can apply one of the following effects. Healing Light, you can heal them for 4d10 plus your spellcasting modifier. A creature can only be healed by this light once per casting of the spell. Or you can do Searing Radiance and deal 8d12 radiant damage on a failed dexterity saving throw, or half as much on a successful one. And then both go up by a d12 if you upcast this. You probably don't want to upcast this. Yeah, this is like alright. The problem is it's just too small. Yeah, you can move it, but 10-foot radius, especially 7th level. Doesn't feel great.
100%. At the 7th level, that should be a lot different. It just feels like weirdly specific, I mean, I know it's restricted on purpose because the old one was a bit strong, I guess. But this, it just feels like it's in such a tight chokehold.
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't need to be that restricted.
You'd be lucky to affect 2 creatures with this.
That's my issue with it.
It's just definitely too small.
I mean, maybe they're hoping that 7th level you'll have some flying interactions, but like, I don't know.
That's true, potentially.
It's just very situational feeling, in my opinion.
And then we have Conjure Elemental. You summon an elemental that fills a 10-foot cube. So pretty similar to the Conjure Animals one. You choose the element when you cast it. And then when a creature hostile to you moves within 5 feet of the spirit, you can make a melee spell attack. On a hit, they take 8d8 damage of the type you chose at the beginning. And then if the creature is large or smaller, it's also pulled into the cube and restrained. And then at the start of each of its turns, it can make a strength save. On a success, it frees itself, and on a failure, it takes 48 more damage. And the spirit can only have 1 creature restrained at a time. This one is pretty cool, but it feels just so easy to avoid. This one you can't even move. So, I mean, this one seems like the worst one so far, honestly. I mean, I guess if you're like in like a hallway or some sort of tight choke point that you can just fit this in the entire choke point, doesn't seem bad, but
It's just too small. That 10-foot key.
Yeah.
It's just you're not able to do enough with that.
Most fights, this just isn't going to be anything.
And it's also on the basis of something has to move within 5 feet before it can even trigger that attack.
Yeah.
So it's just way too situational. It's cool. I like the concept. Like, I like the damage is great. Restrained is fantastic.
Yeah, honestly, it's not bad. It's
Extra
just,
damage on top of the failed strength save.
if it was like 10 or 15 feet, then we'd be talking, but...
I mean, it is 10 feet.
The moves within 10 or 15 feet, yeah. Then we'd be talking, but...
Yeah, and then if it was maybe even a little bigger...
This is for druid or wizard. I don't see taking this as a wizard, but if you're a druid and you're going to be going through tight hallways all day, this might be alright, but beyond that, I wouldn't take this.
It's like the previous ones, this one also kind of feels very situational on when it's going to be effective.
Which isn't bad for the traditional prepared casters, but anybody who's choosing known spells, or like the wizard, they have a spell book. It's going to be chosen a lot less often by those classes.
Definitely.
And then we have Conjure Fey. You get a medium Fey spirit. Looks like a Fey creature of your choice. When the spirit appears, it can immediately make a spell attack against a creature within 5 feet of it. Takes psychic damage equal to 3d12 plus your spellcasting modifier, and then they have to make a wisdom save or be frightened. And then it's a lot like a spiritual weapon. As a bonus action on your later turns, you can teleport the spirit to an unoccupied space you can see within 30 feet, and then make another attack against a creature within 5 feet of it. And then if you upcast it, the damage goes up by 2d12 each time. Still wouldn't upcast it, but consistently applying the frightened condition isn't terrible. I don't know about the damage on this one for a 6th level spell.
I mean, you get the bonus action attack if you can move it close enough to another creature.
Yeah, it's...
But I don't think it's worth 6th level.
Comparable to Bigby's hand, I guess, right? Because action to cast and then bonus action on the rest of the turns.
That's
just less yeah, it's 5th level, and also has less utility. The hand can do more things than just attack.
I mean, this can provide some pressure in a sense. I guess like a slight taunt, but I doubt you're getting...
I think this one's okay. It's definitely, like, usable in more situations, which I guess is at least good. Yeah, I mean, I'd consider taking this.
I mean... It's good at least to see that it's not like the Conjure Elemental, where it's requiring you to have like a condition met before. Yeah, this one like you can just create it and then make your attack.
The only time this is going to be bad is when they're immune to the frightened condition.
Yeah.
Even if they're immune to the frightened condition, you didn't just waste your spell.
True.
If you place the other ones on the battlefield and no creature walks up to it, then you wasted your spell. But this guaranteed gets some value, right?
Yeah, I still don't think it's really worth that 6th level spell slot.
There's probably better 6th level spells, but this is at least like usable.
I'd say usable is a good word for it. It's less situational for sure, which is nice.
Yeah. And then we have Conjure Minor Elementals. This one's actually pretty cool. You summon elemental spirits that flit around you for the duration. Until the spell ends, any attack you make deals an extra 2d8 damage when you hit a creature within 15 feet of you. This damage is bludgeoning, cold, fire, or lightning. Your choice when you make the attack. That's pretty cool. So unlike the Conjure Elemental, you don't have to choose right at the beginning. You can choose per attack. So if you run into resistance, you didn't just lose everything. And then it also makes difficult terrain within 15 feet of you, so pretty similar to Spirit Guardians. And then the upcast is pretty powerful. 2d8 and the difficult terrain range increased by 5 feet for each slot level above 4, which feels crazy to me. But if you cast it at 5th level, it's like twice as good as Spirit Shroud, which I would say is the most comparable thing to it. And it does twice as much damage and applies difficult terrain. He was pretty good. Definitely pretty happy with this one. Might even be a little too strong.
I mean, the upcast is definitely what makes this worth it. Even if you're just straight up casting it at 4th level, I think that's still good because Spirit Shroud is 3rd level, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
But if you upcast Spirit Shroud to 5th, then it does 2d8.
Yeah,
so
and this is doing double the work for basically the same...
At a lower level, it's doing just as much as Spirit Shroud at 5th level. And then at the same level, if you cast at 5th level, it's doing twice as much damage.
And
which is crazy.
It's also getting
to be fair, Spirit Shroud isn't great, so maybe this is in about the right spot. You do have to be pretty close to the enemy too. Like some builds I feel like could just take huge advantage of this. Like even just talking about straight class, like a 19th or 20th level Eldritch Knight would destroy with this thing. They could make 8 attacks. Every single one has an extra 2d8. Or the Bladesinger could get this at 7th.
Be massive gains for that too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, then at 9th level, the Bladesinger is upcasting this to 4d8 already, which an extra 8d8 every turn is pretty insane.
Definitely not something to complain about.
Yeah, and like you don't even have to do melee with this either. With the new True Strike, you could cast this beforehand. Just make sure you're within 15 feet. You'd go up, shoot your. And actually, yeah, you could have crossbow expert. Shoot your crossbow 3 times for an extra 48 damage. This is crazy.
This is wild.
Yeah.
I'm really sad to see like the OG version of it go. But I mean, I think this is like a worthy replacement.
Oh, this is far better than the original Conjure, I think. Well, there was the cheese where you could conjure like the CR0 stuff, but if you were summoning like Mephits or whatever, this is like way better.
Well, this is also less situational. I can't really think of a time where this is not gonna go off.
Well, the fact that you can choose between 4 different damage types every hit, like when is this gonna be bad?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like I don't think there's ever a chance. Like you could make a mistake with which elemental you chose prior, with the old version.
Yeah.
Whether you're running into whatever resistances.
It is a little weird to me that like you have to choose for the other one, but this one you can choose per attack.
Yeah,
I don't know why they're making Conjure Elemental just worse for no reason. It feels like they're.
Yeah, that should be much better.
But I mean, when you cast the spell, that one you can't move, so you'd for sure be casting it in combat, and you might have an idea what damage type will for sure work, but I don't know. This is really nice for avoiding resistances and potentially even getting vulnerabilities. Because like if your friend if you're doing lightning damage because you think it's like the most reliable, but then your friend throws a firebolt and you find out they're vulnerable to fire, you can immediately just switch to that.
Yeah, which is better than regular Conjure Elemental where once you lock in, you're locked in. And I don't know, maybe they're trying to justify Conjure Elemental having like higher damage, but you're doing the same damage, if not.
If you're a character with at least extra attack.
Yeah. And you get more use out of it.
And the difficult terrain, yeah, this one is.
I mean, the only thing you're missing out is the restrained condition, but that's forgivable because of the difficult terrain and a lot of other things.
Well, if you're a blade singer with like booming blade and you're applying difficult terrain, you're really restricting.
Oh yeah, you're being a great controller.
This is crazy. I expect that they will nerf the upcast. Like that is ridiculous, but I think the base spell at 4th level is good.
I think if you block out the higher levels,
I think the upcast should be like 1d8. Like that is absolutely wild. If you cast it at 6th level, 68 per hit.
Unless their intention.
And this is 10 minutes too. Like you could potentially get through 2 combats with this.
That's true. I mean, maybe their intention with keeping that high upcast is maybe they're trying to buff other things too.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they're trying to add to like,
just
for example,
make it worthwhile upcast, right? Like a lot of spells, like many of the previous ones we just went over, just aren't worth upcast.
Yeah.
Feels nice that this one actually feels good to upcast.
Could also be a typo.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, truly. That does feel a little bit much of that. I will be excited to playtest that one, but I doubt the upcast will stay. And then on to Conjure Woodland Beings, which might be the last one. Yes, that is the last Conjure one. So yeah, you summon nature spirits that flit about you for the duration. Until the spell ends, each creature you choose that enters a space within 10 feet of you for the first time on a turn or starts its turn there must make a wisdom saving throw, taking 5d8 force damage on a failed save or half as much on a success. In addition, you can take disengage as a bonus action for the spell's duration, and then if you upcast it, it's 1d8 per slot level. So pretty much just a kind of slightly different version of Spirit Guardians, as if you cast it at 5th level. No difficult terrain, but you're able to take the disengage action, and then it's slightly less range of 10 feet instead of 15, but same damage as 5d8. For a high level melee ranger, this would be really cool. Druids probably don't want to be most druids probably don't want to be getting within 10 feet, but if you're the new moon druid, cast this and then wild shape and go into melee, that'd be pretty good, honestly. Disengage as a bonus action, 5d8 damage. Maybe after feedback they could all be pretty good, but
hopefully. I think that
this is just such a different direction, I don't even know what to say, at least right now, but
I mean,
after some time to think about it.
If this is the way they want to run it, it's a good foundation. It definitely needs like a little bit of shaping and molding.
And then on to the non-conjure spells, starting with Cure Wounds. The healing has increased to 2d8. The upcast is better as well. Yeah, so starting at 2d8 and then it's 2d8 for every slot level above first, so pretty much twice as much healing from Cure Wounds, which is pretty nice. I still don't know. I mean, it definitely feels more worth it now. And you might even consider doing this outside of combat, but I don't think this is going to change the game, that like the whole yo-yo effect thing, where it's better to just heal somebody after they go down. I don't think it's enough healing to change that, but I think it's moving in the right direction at least.
Yeah, I kind of feel like for that they may have to do like a bigger overhaul of like how, I guess almost in a sense how healing works to fix that yo-yo effect. It's still an action to cast. I feel like healing word's just always still going to be the play.
Pretty much, yeah.
But it at least feels a little bit better because you're getting a bit more out of it.
Yeah, you wouldn't consider this over healing word in combat, but you might outside of combat. Because once at second level, like, I mean, Prayer of Healing is for sure still going to be better. But if you don't have that 10 minutes, 48 plus your spellcasting ability, when before it was just 2d8, that feels a lot better.
Yeah, I would actually potentially consider this on a spell list. I mean, usually I just roll right over Cure Wounds.
Well, for Paladin or Ranger, I usually pick it up because they don't have Healing Word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's, of course.
Yeah, but for the full casters, you might actually consider this now. Yeah,
that's what I'm getting at.
And then on to one of the new spells, Fount of Moonlight. New spell for bards and druids. Concentration for 10 minutes, action cast. A cool light reads your body for the duration, emitting bright light in a 20-foot radius and dim light for an additional 20 feet. Until the spell ends, you have resistance to radiant damage, and your melee attacks deal an additional 2d6 radiant damage on a hit. In addition, immediately after you take damage from a creature within 60 feet of yourself, you can use your reaction to force the creature to make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, the creature has the blinded condition until the end of your next turn. So this is kind of comparable to the new Conjure Minor Elementals, which is also for druids, but not for bards. Similar damage there, 2d6 versus 2d8, also giving you the resistance to radiant damage, which is pretty rare that enemies do radiant damage. I don't think I'd ever use this reaction, to be honest. Just blinded? Maybe. I don't know.
I guess it
I
depends.
think the reaction could be a little bit better, maybe doing some damage as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bad. 2d6 per attack. And then, since this is on the Moon Druid list, they can cast it while they're in wild shape as well, which is pretty nice.
This kind of seems odd, the reaction thing. There doesn't seem like a reason for it. It's just kind of like, it seems like it's thrown in there because they couldn't figure out anything else to put for the 4th level, you know?
Seems out of place.
Yeah.
It also doesn't have an upcast, which is kind of weird.
So, I mean, maybe, I feel like at 4th level it wouldn't be too strong, like maybe
I feel like you could
once
deal
per turn.
2d6 radiant damage along with the blinded.
The blinded, yeah. Once per turn or whatever.
Well, it's a reaction, so it's for sure once per turn.
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't end of your next turn. Yeah. I
I
mean,
think
blinded's good, it just depends on what you're targeting.
Blinded is decent, but I feel like it could be a little bit more.
If you're going to commit to the reaction.
Yeah. And then next up, we got Healing Word, which I think just got the exact same change as Cure Wounds. Yeah, so 2d4 and then upcast 2d4 each time, which I think honestly just solidifies that Healing Word is just better. I honestly think, like, if they want to buff Cure Wounds and, like, balance healing out, Healing Word should stay where it's at in 5e. And to make Cure Wounds worth it, they need to boost the healing of just that. But I mean, Healing Word being in the game, there's always going to be that yo-yo effect of, like, just bringing them up when they're down rather than healing them while they're alive. It's a higher chance of saving their turn.
Yeah.
I don't really think this changes Healing Word.
You just heal them more, so you maybe have a stronger chance of keeping them in a little bit longer. But
I mean, there's a small chance that they can take 2 hits instead of 1. But
I don't think it changes much at all.
Yeah,
I mean,
once you get to like level
more.
10, you're taking like 20 to 30 damage a hit. 1d4 versus 2d4 makes no difference.
And even at that point, almost Cure Wounds is 1d8, right?
Currently, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know,
But
2d8 doesn't change. And even when you upcast, I mean, 48, now you're maybe
Yeah, I
talking.
think the biggest thing is the upcast, because like 4d8, yeah, then you're talking. 4d4, I still don't, I would never upcast. I mean, unless you don't have first level spell slots. That's the only time I'd ever upcast Healing Word, even with this.
Does the Life Cleric still have that feature where it does full healing, or am I mixing that?
Their capstone is still max healing, yeah. Well, and then they get a little bit more healing early on.
Yeah, I think
Like
that's the
plus
feature
the
I'm
spell's level or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's plus the spell's level.
2 plus the spell's level or something.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, Healing Word's still the play. I would say like 10 times, maybe 9 times out of 10. Probably.
If you are a high level life cleric, then like if the cure wounds is, what would that be, 32 when you have cast a second level, that's not bad. But
you're still only keeping someone in for it max, like
yeah,
maybe
at that point you're 17th level.
Yeah, so at that point you're definitely only keeping them in for just another turn again.
Yeah.
So nothing changes. You just keep them in the same spot the whole game. Not bad, but it doesn't fix, like you said earlier, the yo-yo problem.
Yeah, I don't think it really changes much about like how the game's gonna go. And then on to, yeah, I mean, pretty much the same changes to Mass Cure Wounds and Mass Healing Word, 5d8 and 2d4. For Mass Cure Wounds, I think that actually kind of matters, that an extra 2d8 there, and what's the upcast now? It's just an additional 1d8 though. I mean, Mass Cure Wounds might get you one more hit to survive, but Mass Healing Word is basically the same spell. Yeah, pretty much the same. Cure Wounds and Healing Word. Like for Cure Wounds it might make a difference, but for Healing Word it really doesn't make a difference. It is weird that the upcasts are lower for the Mass ones, but I mean, same difference. Like, or at least the same thing we said for Cure Wounds and Healing Word applies. And then we have 2 more new spells. First, Power Word Fortify. New spell for bards and clerics. Up to 6 creatures within range, which is 60 feet. It's an action to cast. The spell bestows 120 temporary hit points, which are divided equally among the spell's recipients. So you could give 6 creatures 20 hit points, or you could give 1 creature 120 temp HP. Which, if Polymorph stays the same as it is, this just sucks, but I think the temp HP could be better. Like, a lot better.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're dividing it among 6 creatures, yeah. For 7th level, I think I agree.
Well, yeah, it's 7th level for sure. I almost think this could be like 5th.
I guess how often are you dispersing them amongst 6 versus just giving them all to 1? I mean, I guess that's up to the caster, of course, but
I think 2 to 3 is probably the most value.
so yeah, each person's getting about 30 to 40 temp HP.
Also doesn't upcast. Yeah, I don't think this one's that great.
I think it's a cool concept. I just think it needs more, especially for
That number
that
needs
level.
to be a lot higher, yeah.
Is that the lowest leveled power word?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Stun is 8, yeah. Because right now there's just kill, stun, and heal. And then lastly, we have Starry Wisp, a new cantrip for bards and druids. It's a action to cast, 60 feet, ranged spell attack. On a hit, target takes a d8 radiant damage, and until the end of your next turn, the target emits dim light in a 10-foot radius and can't benefit from the invisible condition. For druids, there's definitely better choices. Not benefiting from the invisible condition is pretty niche, but for bards, the only ranged cantrip they have right now is Vicious Mockery, I think, and this is significantly better than that, so.
Yeah.
Vicious Mockery did get buffed to a d6. I mean, Vicious Mockery is still definitely more fun, but it is cool that bards have a different option now. Or if you run into, you could take both this and Vicious Mockery and have the utility of the disadvantage from Vicious Mockery, and then the more damage and the additional damage type and radiant damage from this. More options if you're playing a bard.
It's good to see that bard gets another option.
Looks like that's it for all the spells. If you'd like to watch the last video we did talking about the monk, you can check that out right here. Either way, thank you guys for watching. Hope you have an awesome rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next one.